is in Uttara Bhadrapada. So there's Purva Bhadrapada, which has fire, which is very fiery, and Uttara Bhadrapada is watery. So both of these are symbolized by Naga or serpents. But when we look at Uttara Bhadrapada, the symbol or the visualization of this is actually the funeral bed, or sometimes seen as the hearse, the vehicle that transports a body to its final resting place. And again, we're in Pisces, so we're talking about endings. We're talking about merging with the infinite. And it's ruled by Saturn. So remember, Saturn is a planet of restriction and restraint. Saturn forces us to slow down, to be mindful with the two Bhadrapadas. The first one, it comes right before Uttara Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada is like the lightning strike. It's the fire. It's the intensity. And then Uttara Bhadrapada, this is like the rain that happens after the lightning strike. So for me, when I was reading this and kind of researching, I feel like knowing a little bit, I mean, if I had done this a couple weeks ago, who knows what we would have said, but like knowing what I know about what's going on in the world right now, right? A couple weeks from now, all of these pieces are going to be falling into place. There is an element of intuition wrapped up in Uttara Bhadrapada. Anytime we're in Pisces, anytime we're in a watery feeling sign, we're talking about intuition, right? Water is an excellent conductor of energy. And so you want to really pay attention to intuition. That's why in class today we talked about, when we were in tabletop, asking your body what it needs, testing your intuition. If you find yourself throughout this month questioning your decisions, like, oh, why would I do this? Or should I do this or that? I can't decide. Remember, we can't think our way through some of these big decisions in life. Sometimes it's not helpful to ruminate or stew on things or try to, ask ChatGPT what you should do, right? Like that might be easier. It might be, or ask a friend. Some of you, especially if you're certain signs of the zodiac, certain ascendants, you might be more inclined to say like, okay, besties in the group chat, what would you do? Right? And just asking all of them. Take time to sit in stillness. If you have been putting your morning practice, your spiritual practice, your meditation practice, if you've been putting this off for whatever reason, there's no need to question it. This month is a great time to begin again. So the symbol of the Bhadrapadas, both of them, is called blessed steps or blessed feet. It's this idea of seeing how blessed we've been. And in Uttara Bhadrapada, it's like there's one step forward and one step back. So it's noticing the blessings, but also finding harmony with contradiction. Right? So sometimes when we think about blessings and we think about gratitude and abundance, again, we think about it conditionally. I am blessed if XYZ is true. I am abundant if my bank account says XYZ. I am this if. That is an illusion. That is just a construct that the media, that culture shapes you to believe, that life in general, no matter where you live, shapes you to believe. You're only going to be whole if these conditions exist. And that's just not true. So in Uttara Bhadrapada, we have this really sweet, soft way of being able to harmonize contradictions. So you might not have this, what seems like abundance in your bank account, and yet you can still take steps toward future goals. Like if you're trying to, say, buy a house or buy a property, right? You might not have the down payment set in your bank account, but could you still take steps toward that dream? Yes. Maybe you set out a plan to save. Maybe you take a step and meet with a realtor. Maybe you sit down with, if you're buying a property with someone, you start to talk about like, what are the other resources we could harness? What are we missing? Maybe we do have abundance. When I was at summer camp and I did leadership facilitation. One of the tenets of the place where I worked, we always talked about using all of your resources. And there are always hidden resources, right? People that come out of the woodwork, or, things that you didn't realize that you could harness, or I don't know. There's lots of different things, right? So, with this new moon, we also, anytime we're thinking about water and new cycles and rebirth, we're thinking about this idea of one of the readings I did, it was like, this is like baptism by water versus like back in September. If you look at maybe what was going on in your life in September, that was more of a baptism by fire, right? So this initiation into a new cycle. So this is a time when you can really look at your life and say, what new chapter am I starting? You've got all this newness. If you don't have any newness and you're like, things feel stagnant, just look outside your window all month long. Mother Nature is going to be showing you newness every single day, over and over again. Okay. So this idea of like, how can you step into this new chapter, this new flow, and then also test your intuition. Okay, so talking a lot about intuition and honoring that, test your intuition. So you can also like, ask the universe for a sign. Sometimes I'll do this if I'm unsure, and I only do this when I have a consistent morning, or it doesn't have to be in the morning, a consistent mindfulness practice when I know that I'm really tuned in, right? If I'm too scattered or I've got a lot going on, I'm not really grounded when I'm testing my intuition. But if you feel grounded and you want to test it, ask the universe for a sign. Say, sometimes I'll ask specific people who have passed on in my life for a sign. Pisces is a very intuitive sign. And whenever we're working with intuition, we're also working with those who've passed on, right? We're looking at the last sign of the zodiac. Death and rebirth is a theme here. So if you have people in your life who have passed on and you want their help, or you want to hear from them, or you want a sign that they're out there, ask for one. Ask for a specific one. And then what you have to do is you have to wait for it. You have to wait for it, and you have to be open to the fact that it might show up in a way you don't expect. And that's the most fun part. Another way that I test intuition is like when I go to a restaurant, I just I open the menu and I notice the first thing that jumps out at me, and then I order it. And I see how it resonates. And oftentimes, most of the time, it's like hitting the nail on the head, even if it's weird and I'm like, oh my God, I never order that here, right? Usually my body and my intuition is like, nope, that's what you need today, right? Okay. And then the last thing that I would just mention about this that I wanted to talk about is, we've discussed karma a little bit this month. Anytime we're working with Rahu, Ketu, eclipse cycle, etc., we're working with karma. We're always working with karma. So your good luck, your karma that, you might recognize as things working out, that comes from your past life deeds. And remember, past lifetime or this lifetime, whatever. All the deeds that you're doing right now are building up for the future. So when we say like how you do one thing is how you do everything, remember that action, this is like the crux of Kriya Yoga, of our tradition and of our lineage, is like all you have is your actions. That's it. And so let your actions be fueled in a mindful way rather than an unconscious way. All of your good luck is coming from the deeds of your past life. The actions that you took are affecting you today, right? So why is that, by the way? Like, why do things come back around? Even the things that we don't want to does anybody ever have patterns that come back around where you're like, oh, I thought I learned this? Anyone? Yeah. Why does that happen? Why do we go through these things that feel hard, that feel challenging, that, seem to like really throw us off our game? So that we can experience them. So that we can experience the fullness of life. We would not know joy, bliss, and ecstasy if we did not know pain and hardship and intensity, right? And so this isn't meant to like bypass, like, oh, this is just happening to you because your soul needed this really hard experience. Like, that is not what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at is that when you are looking at how to take action in the moment, especially in the hard moments, remember that you need to be coming from a still center. You need to, and you have the ability, all of you do, you have the ability to ground into your practices, to your meditation, to your mindfulness, to your Kriya classes, whatever it is, ground into that, and all you have is your action. So make it a good one. Make every step a blessed step. So themes overall for Uttara Bhadrapada, our new moon this month: reincarnation and transformation. So I talked about baptism. So reincarnation doesn't need to even be like you die literally, your family has a funeral and then you're reincarnated later on. Reincarnation and rebirth is happening all the time. You could argue that every time you inhale, you are reborn. Every time you exhale, you die. So even on that like really small level, this reincarnation, transformation, rebirth. Okay. Also acknowledging loss can be a thing this month too. Acknowledging, right, the rain that follows the lightning, acknowledging, what has been intense, what has been lost, and then moving toward forgiveness. That's what water does. It's like tears, right? After you have a good cry, then sometimes you feel better. For me, I always feel better after I cry. It just feels like, the rain after the lightning storm. Okay. And then just this idea of blessing and wealth redefined. So all of the tuning in with abundance, what is wealth, what is good, what is not good, really allowing yourself to redefine that, because there really is no good or bad or right way to do things or wrong way. All there is your life and what you make of it. And then intuition. So